Hello there. Welcome to another edition of Leading Edge, a weekly leadership resource to support you in your leadership journey as we seek to raise effective godly leaders. Now, the last 4 weeks, we've been dealing with the Great Manager series. So far, we've covered the 7 portraits of a great manager, then management for new managers, then the top 7 manager skills, and last week, we took the first installment of managing the 7 manager nightmares. We examined 3 of those tough manager situations, which were handling tough conversations and feedbacks, and then terminating a team member, and then losing a strong performer in your team. We shall today discuss the remaining 4 of the 7 manager nightmares as we conclude the entire Great Manager series. And let's start this way. In a Gallup study of 50,000 managers conducted between 2004 and 2019, what could be called a day in the life of a manager was sort of reconstructed. That was the focus of the study. The researchers found that the manager's life or experience is a mixed bag, complicated and dynamic, with a mix of opportunities and several pitfalls and challenges. The study specially identified 5 top challenges of managers. One was unclear expectations, then heavy workload and distractions at work, job stress and frustrations, less focus on the manager's strength, and frustrating performance reviews. Now, no matter how much you wish these things were non-existent, they are part of the manager package. And I'm sure most of you have a fair share of your own challenges. Now, instead of loathing your job as a manager, it is more important to learn how to manage the unpleasantness. So, here are the remaining 4 manager nightmares. So, number 4, organizational change. Now, periods of organizational change, including reorganizations or restructuring, whatever you call it, are not the easiest times for managers. This is because no matter how well implemented such changes are, there will always be people that will get the short end of the stick. This is in addition to the sheer intensity of tasks associated with such reorgs. There is also the blinding ambiguity that surrounds the process. Often, the manager does not have all the information and is required to provide leadership and direction, even though he is partially in the dark himself. Now, in some instances, there are parts of the process that he may not even believe in, nor even understand. Yet, he is asked to sell the change program to his team members, and he must show leadership while at it. Put together, periods of organizational change can be very daunting and mentally draining for managers. It simply stretches the very limits of our character and capacity. You are called to make meaning of sometimes not too meaningful situations to yourself and your team members at the same time. Now, that said, there are certain guides to support you in driving a smooth transition without losing your sanity. 1, be honest and authentic. The foundation for a successful change management is trust. The manager should be that oasis of light and truth in a season of darkness. Be honest with your team. What you don't understand, admit that you don't. Where you can't share information, say you can't. Don't sugarcoat anything. Just be authentic. Then, be positive and optimistic. Negativity can never qualify as a leadership tool. So, just bury it. Be positive and optimistic without raising false hopes. Help your team make meaning of the dark maze. Perspective is a powerful anchor in walking through a transition. And then, collaborate more. Ensure that your employees see themselves as valuable parts of the organization. Bring them in more. Listen to them and apply relevant suggestions from them where you can. Then, be accessible and over-communicate where you can. Detachment and reticence will only increase anxiety and mistrust during a transition. So, be available to your team members. Listen to their concerns and work with them to overcome them. Next, drive the process with commitment. Ensure that you do not let things slide, whether big or small. Once you start tolerating slips and omissions, no one will take the new change serious. Times of organizational change are tough for managers. Let's face it. It demands great character. So, show it. Number 5 nightmare. Number 5 is resolving divisive conflicts within the team. Now, conflicts are only natural and inevitable in any human relationship. In every team, therefore, there will typically be episodes of conflict, sometimes not a few. Now, friendly disagreements during brainstorming sessions are normal and even helpful in fostering creativity, constructive thinking, and productive outcomes. In a sense, conflict can be a creative force. However, a manager's nightmare comes when these mild squabbles snowball into full-blown discord and sometimes even resentment within the team. When they are left unchecked, such conflicts can keep the team, and by extension, the entire organization, from reaching its full potential. That's where the danger lies. Now, the time of conflict is not a time to cower and wish it just goes away. It is a time to be courageous, to get to the roots, and to do the heavy lifting required for a resolution to happen. Just about anything can set conflict in motion, whatever it is. Whether it is a differences in opinion, in method, in mannerism, in disposition, someone must rise up as an arbiter. It typically falls on the manager to play that arbiter, the bridge builder. A team without a bridge builder will slide through the slope into dysfunction. The temptation again is typically to avoid being in the eye of the storm, as we say. It is to not get involved in what could potentially make you look bad in the eyes of any of the parties involved in the conflict. But it does not help in building team cohesion. Reconciliation heals and resets a team. Take note of that. The first step to playing the bridge builder is to remain squarely in the middle, firmly rooted in fairness without bias and prejudgments. Fairness also means to be courageous, to call out anyone or anything that's not right. Now, the manager can walk through the 4 stages of conflict resolution. That is, 1, recognize the problem. That means identify the underlying issues. 2, understand the differences. So, where are the areas of divergence and what are the bases? 3, create shared purpose. That is, look for common grounds and potential areas for adjustments. And 4, build agreements. That is, determine how the parties can work together going forward. Now, this entire process will require an open mind that has a willingness to change. What Thomas Crum in his book Magic of Conflict calls the viewing point, as different from a viewpoint. The author puts it this way: being willing to change allows you to move from a point of view to a viewing point, a higher, more expansive place from which you can see both sides. So, to resolve divisive conflicts within your team, listen to both sides. Get to the root of the conflict. Be impartial in your judgment. Help the parties come up with a solution that eliminates the effects of the identified differences. And conflict resolution is no easy work, but it is critical for team cohesion and growth. And now, number 6 nightmare. Number 6 is managing political ambiguity or tension, especially in a matrix structure. Now, there's a very interesting comedy that captures the work experience of the 1990s. It's the movie Office Space. Now, Peter Gibson in this movie has 8 bosses and each will come by his desk and tell him what to do. Crazy, right? But no, this is fast becoming the experience of so many employees today, as most organizations are moving from the traditional vertical hierarchical structure to a more flattened and matrixed structure. Yeah? Many people today have more than one boss. Now, having more than one boss or multiple reporting lines comes with complexities and tensions. It is the daunting situation of literally serving two masters at a time and seeking to love both equally. Now, no manager wants to be caught in the crossfire between two superiors. Having more than one superior or boss has its advantages, of course, including the opportunity to tap into a wider network of knowledge and support for your projects or whatever you do. But sometimes the two bosses may have conflicting ideas and positions on things. When that happens, they don't typically reconcile these positions directly between themselves. You are left in the puddle to manage the tensions. It can get messy when it becomes a battle for superiority or visibility. It's then you find that you have become a cheap proxy in a corporate political war. Now, here are a few thoughts on how to navigate the ambiguity that a matrix structure can create. 1. Understand who you work for in what specific situations. In other words, know your activities that feed into which boss and seek to respect those lines. Number 2, identify who the ultimate boss is. Now, among all your bosses, you need to know the one who has the highest power over your career. This helps guide how you act, especially during conflicts. Number 3, when there are conflicting messages, find a way to get the affected bosses together to communicate. It can be to document the variances of opinion of both and share with them, suggesting points of reconciliation without appearing to be taking sides. Number 4, understand that often all the tensions you face are not about you. They are typically about the separate agendas of the bosses. So, don't take it personal. Number 5, learn to document positions, directives, and actions properly. This way, you can always correctly state whose authority you are working with in every instance. Number 6, don't try to speak or represent the position of one boss before the other boss. It can aggravate the situation for you. Overall, it takes a lot of wisdom, tact, and relational, even what I may call political dexterity, to walk this tightrope. Yeah. So, number 7 nightmare. Confronting your boss. Now, there will be times when your boss will say something or do something that does not sit well with you, right? And then there will be times when you can't escape confronting your boss over an opposite view that you hold, or even what you consider a wrong attitude or action of his. There can also be situations where your boss has some unrealistic expectations of you. Or perhaps a project is being held up because of your boss's actions or inactions, and you need to get things going. Sometimes too, your boss may be wrong and you are right over an issue, or so you think. So the question then is, how can you possibly tell your boss that they are wrong and that you are right? Now, as much as you desire to let it slide, sometimes that won't solve the problem. If anything, your silence may only compound it. So at such times, both of you will need to talk in a safe and private environment. Now learn this: never confront your boss in public, no matter how high up you think you are in the organogram. A private conversation is necessary to avoid it looking like insubordination to your boss or colleagues. Remember that as a manager, you are a model to those who report to you. They will likely want to try out what they see you do around the office. So be mindful of your actions. Your goal must not be to merely prove to your boss that he is wrong. The goal is to get things working properly and productively. Always keep that in mind. That means then that you should offer your idea or suggestion as an alternative, not as an absolute. I hope you understand that. He is still the boss and has some ego to manage. If your manner of approach is polite and your idea can help the organization, a reasonable boss will go for it, even if it means discarding his own idea. But you must leave him to make that decision. That decision does not belong to you. At the same time, keep an open mind. Your boss may have an information or can share an information that helps you change your own position. The foundation of all this is trust and mutual respect. Trust breaks down barriers and builds bridges that make communication easier and more productive. Great. So here we have fully covered how you can manage the various manager nightmares. There are 7 of them we've been talking about. Now take note that to effectively handle these tough manager situations we have highlighted, it doesn't happen overnight. You will falter, you will miss it many times. The outcomes may not be as good as anticipated in some instances, but keep at it. There is a simple sequence you can apply. Anticipate, tackle, and learn. That is, anticipate these potential challenges. Next, tackle them when they eventually arise using some of the guides we have discussed. And then, learn from the successes or failures. That's how your unique management style will begin to evolve, building you into a great manager. Management comes with perks, but it is only in attaining mastery over the challenging situations that you earn and retain the badge of the great manager. And I wish you all the very best. Great. So, here we come to the end of the session today. And I'd like again to thank you for joining. And if you have not started following us on all our social media handles, let me request you to do so today. And let me ask you to continue to like, share, and comment on this video if it's been helpful. Thank you again for joining. This has been Leading Edge.